Welcome back to Zero Mission. Last time we got ourselves some bombs, and this time we're going to be putting them to use immediately to start doing some things that we really technically shouldn't. As you can see here, by chaining bomb jumps together, you can scale basically any vertical height that you want to, assuming no obstacles block your way like these rippers. Now the timing for this is fairly precise. Essentially, you have to lay down a bomb, and just before it explodes, lay down another bomb, so that when you fall down from the apex of your jump, you'll be slightly higher than you started when you bounce off of the other bomb's explosion. Now there is a faster way of doing bomb jumps, which involves laying two down instead of just one. However, that's a much more difficult way of doing things for all the speed it gets you. The way it works is that you, in addition to laying down a bomb just before the other one explodes, lay one down at the apex of your jump so that when you bounce up from the first one, you'll immediately bounce into the second one, and you have to chain things together like that pretty precisely. Doing single bomb jumps is much more lenient, but it's still not a novice maneuver. It's very difficult to get the timing down when you're first starting out, but once you've got it down, it becomes second nature. Now the reason I came up here was twofold. First of all, there are a number of items that we can get right now that are going to be very helpful in the near future. And second of all, by coming up here now, we'll never have to come back here ever again, because we can get every single item available to us on our first pass through here. It's fairly out of the way compared to most other places in the game, so getting it done now is really handy. And yes, you can see here that bomb jumps can be used to even scale horizontal distance, and it's a lot harder than it might look. The way it works is that you have to veer slightly to the left or the right when you're in your descent, and then constantly be holding the opposite direction from where you want to go so that you're sort of moving back into the bomb as it's exploding. It's more difficult to explain than it is to just show. Now you might recognize these guys. We saw them last time kind of being jerks to us, and then we exploded them because they were trying to steal our life force. But here they're just trying to steal some plant's life force, and honestly, those plants probably deserve it. Now we're supposed to come here with another item that we get later in order to make getting through these small spaces easier, but we have bombs, we don't care. The world is our oyster, our very explosive oyster. If you fall down here, that's not so bad because as you can see, you can just hold left and make it through there all the same. But if you fall into the acid, that could be a bit more of an issue. Thankfully, there is an energy tank down here, so if you fall in and you think you might not make it, it could be worth it just going after that energy tank to give yourself another chance. Now, if I fall in there again, we'll be in a bit of trouble, but thankfully, this part isn't as bad as it looks, except for right here. You have very little time to start bomb jumping off of that crumble block, although if you get high enough, you will be able to respawn the block before you land on it, so the timing isn't as precise as you might think. So, with all of that tricky stuff done, what is our reward here? The Various Suit. Now this is super handy for the area I'm going to next, and just in general, because in addition to providing extra defense, it also makes us immune to acid. So that hazard we were seeing towards the start of the game and right here that I was saying was kind of a big issue for us, it's not anymore, because we were able to come someplace we weren't technically supposed to and get the item to get around it. One interesting thing is that if you're going for 100%, you technically don't even need to come here and get the Various Suit, and I'll go over that more later, but just know that if you're, say, doing a super duper hardcore speedrun of this game, you can just skip the Various Suit entirely and it won't affect you at all. Now on our journey back here, there's not a ton left of this place. There's a couple of pickups on the way, a few enemies here and there, but for the most part, we're already done with this upper section of Brinstar, so it's pretty nice. Yeah, by doing some tricky bomb jumping here, you can just get yourself over to this wall and up into this alcove to get ourselves a quick missile pack. There is a quick drop down through this room, as you might be able to tell through the map, but we're going down this way instead because there's an item down here that we can pick up now that we've got bombs, which we would have picked up if we came back the normal way, but since I took that upper detour, we're just going here now. Now, something worth noting about the hive room, which I'm going to accidentally take a detour into, if you go through this room and somehow don't find all of the hives, say you don't find that hidden alcove with that missile pack, unless you kill every hive, they'll all respawn when you next enter the room. So until you find that secret, you do have to deal with all of them each time you re-enter, which can be a bit of a pain. There's also a room further off to the east that I'm not going to bother doing anything with because all that's down there is a Chozo statue that would indicate to us an item's location, but I already know where that item is, what it is, and I don't really need the refill, so we're going to ignore it. There was an item down in that room in the original Metroid, but it's been moved, so it's not really worth it to us to head down there right now. But we are going to take this little detour off hidden to the left here. It'll drop us down further and also let us get a chance at some more items, and a whole lot of red rippers for some reason. I don't remember offhand how much damage they do. I want to say without the Variasuit, they're dealing roughly 50, which when you're just starting out and only have one energy tank, that's real bad. Hard mode does not mess around too much, but huh. Well, it looks like we can't get to whatever that missile pack is just yet, so we're gonna have to come back there later. Now, where I'm headed right now, again, the game doesn't really expect you to go this way just yet because it's trying to indicate you towards another area of the game to get an item which will make going through this next part easier, but it's not necessary, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we get into it. But for right now, we can just bomb jump and get this energy tank right now. Why not? Again, supposed to get another item for that? Bomb jumps don't give a shit. Now for this upcoming section, technically the only item you need to get here and really to traverse the entire place is bombs. So you could come back here right away as soon as you get them, but I did want to take that detour to better prepare myself because this place is a little bit dangerous. This is Kraid's lair, hidden very close to where we started the game and holding quite a number of items for us, including one that's hidden behind a save room. Yeah, bet you didn't expect that when you first played this game. It's just a missile, so it's not a huge deal, but still, it's pretty tricky. And as you might be able to tell just from this room alone, acid is kind of a major feature of this place, so having the Variasuit is really handy. I'm just taking a save here because the next section I'm going to can be a little tricky, especially lacking the items that we're technically supposed to have for this point. I'm not sure I brought this up before, but in case you somehow missed it, these red doors that we're constantly encountering, you need to just shoot a missile at it in order to open them. Probably should have brought them up when we first ran into them, but better than late than never. Now the generic enemies in Kraid's lair are a slight cut above the generic enemies we've seen up to this point. These guys take quite a number of hits to kill with our normal beam, so it's more worth it than you'd think to just pop them with a couple missiles to take them out. And these red guys are the worst, because when you kill them, they're gruesome as it may be, their eyeballs fall off of their body and will actually damage you? I don't understand it myself, but they're jerks. They're real jerks. Now, coming up here, there's going to be some very clear evidence that this is not really where we're supposed to be right now. You can see all these indents in the wall, and we just kind of ignored all of them and just wall jumped up the entire thing and used bomb jumps right here to bypass the quote-unquote intended way of getting through here. And we're going to be doing that again. As you can see, there's this very small gap between this pillar and the ceiling that we can just slip by in morph ball mode and move along. Again, bomb jumps allow you to bypass so much in this game, it's crazy. The lowest you can actually finish this game with is 9% or 10% on hard mode, for reasons. Unless you're playing the European version, then it is possible to get 9% on hard mode, but that's something else. Now, the whole point of coming up here was to activate these lifts, which will allow us to traverse large gaps much easier, so now that we've done that, it's just a matter of us looping back around so that we can make use of these on the lower floors. Unless we run into some interruptions. This is the Acid Worm, our second boss up to this point, and not quite as easy as the Charge Beam Worm, but certainly not a major threat. Now, the whole idea for this boss is to lure him into latching onto one of the blocks up top, and then using that time where he's stuck to get behind him and start shooting his very sensitive little neck that you might be able to see there. Or would it be, is it a neck? Is it just a part of his body? I can't tell you. I don't know much about worms. I don't know a whole lot about alien worms especially, so I feel like they're kind of beyond my grasp here. Now, technically, the Acid Worm is an optional boss. There is a way to skip activating the lifts that I'll point out when we get to it, but for a 100% run, we need to activate the lifts anyways because they let us get to several items that we wouldn't otherwise be able to. And as you can see, sometimes the Acid Worm throws a hissy fit and starts raising up the acid level, and all you really have to do is jump up to the higher block at that point, but with the Variasuit, we don't have to care about it at all. Yeah, the Variasuit makes that fight much easier. I would almost even say trivial, because the main obstacle, the acid itself, doesn't affect us at all. And of course, wouldn't be a Metroid game without hidden items, and especially wouldn't be one without one hidden being beneath the boss room. That one tripped me up for a long time when I first played this game. It's pretty well hidden. And if you miss out on it now, it's going to be a long ways backtracking to get it later. Something I haven't noted yet is that if you play on an already cleared save file, when you look at the map, you will actually get a checklist of items in whatever part of the game you're in. So you can easily tell how many of each expansion you're actually missing just by taking a look at your map screen. It won't tell you where they are necessarily, just that you are missing them and they are in this area, which is certainly better than nothing. Now, the top right corner has been pretty much completely cleared of items. We're not going to be able to get absolutely everything in this place on our first visit, but we'll be able to get close enough. But that's all we're doing for now. Next time, we're going to be doing some deeper exploration into Kraid's lair, and maybe even fight that big boy himself. See you then.